I'm Jim Zogby. My next guest is Shane DeApril. He's editor of Campaigns and Elections, former campaign reporter for the Hill newspaper, and a former senior editor at Politics magazine. I want to talk about the Republican primary to start. There's a bunch of questions I've got for you, but I first want to look at these numbers over the last 3 months. And I just put up some of the candidates, didn't put up all of them, but let's look at the board that I'm putting up on the screen right now. Here's Herman Cain, now at 27%. This is an NBC Wall Street Journal poll. He was at 5 and at 5. There's Romney now at 23. He was at 30 back in July. Here's Perry at 16. He was at 38 in August, end of August, and 11 in July. And there's Michelle Bachmann just fading fast, 16 down to 8, down to 5. Now in the middle there, you've got Ron Paul and Newt Gingrich holding steady where they are. They can't crack double digits, or are at Paul is just around 10. The question is, what is going on here? Can we expect much more in the way of fluctuation before this is over?
You know, I think you really can. I mean, as amazing as the Cain surge has been over the past couple of months, I think it just underscores the volatility in the entire GOP primary process. I mean, for Rick Perry to go from 38 to 16, from Cain to go from low single digits to where he is now, basically leading in most of the national polls, it's pretty astounding. And I think it shows that Republicans are still searching for their Mitt Romney alternative, and they're pretty much trying everybody on. They tried Rick Perry on, now they're trying Herman Cain on. I think some Republicans are looking for somebody who's not Mitt Romney, and they just haven't found somebody to fit that bill yet.
Michelle Bachmann's gone.
I think so. I think that she just... I don't think she can recover from where she is now. You know, I mean, she peaked way too early.
She's now in the Rick Santorum "What about me" phase.
I think so. I think even I think Rick Santorum's in better position than she is in Iowa.
Yeah. Tell me about Herman Cain. Does it look like what it is, which is an alternative to Mitt Romney, or is there something real here? Or do we just have to wait and see?
I think it's a little bit wait and see. I mean, I think his message has been resonating. It's been resonating with some of the Tea Party conservative elements of the Republican primary electorate. You know, his message of "I'm not of Washington. I've never been a politician. You know, I'm from the private sector, bringing fresh ideas." The problem is his freshest idea, which is this economic plan of his, this 999, has been largely panned by even conservatives, and Herman Cain himself has not really been able to defend it once it's come under attack from many of his Republican rivals now that the spotlight is on him. So I don't know that there's a whole lot of substance to a lot of what Herman Cain is saying day to day, and I think that's going to start to get peeled back now that he's the front runner.
But he's not Mitt Romney, and the issue here is that Mitt Romney is the establishment, quote unquote, right, as thin as it is on the Republican side, seems to be galvanizing around Romney, but he's got massive parts of the Republican base who just don't want him, from religious evangelicals, the religious right, to some of the diehard, rock-solid conservatives who just don't see him as one of them. I mean, they seem to be more willing to accept him in 2008 than they do right now. They're just not trusting that Mitt Romney is a social conservative, is a fiscal conservative, or that he's got the religious credentials. How does he do it?
I think he does it really by letting the other contenders split up the vote, particularly among the conservatives, many of whom, whether they be evangelicals, whether they be just staunch social conservatives who don't trust some of Mitt Romney's flip-flops on some social issues that he's had in the past. I think that that's why he wanted Sarah Palin in the race, to help split up more of that conservative vote and sort of run right up the middle. But I think that's how Mitt Romney does it. He doesn't do it by winning over evangelical conservatives. He's not going to do that. He doesn't do it by winning over the hard right among the primary electorate, because that's not going to happen. I think he does it by letting all the other contenders split up the vote as much as possible and just being the plurality, the consensus alternative. I don't think he's going to be the champion, but I don't think he's got to be the conservative champion to win this primary.
Does this look like Bob Dole in '96, the guy that they finally settle on because they know him and he's simply not one of the other guys in the mix, but he can't mobilize the hardcore base, and so he loses 10–15% of Republicans before he even starts?
It's an interesting comparison, and I think it certainly could turn out that way. There is a very long way to go, though, and I do think that there are elements of the Republican base that, as much as perhaps they don't like Mitt Romney, I think there is a much stronger anti-Obama feeling among that contingent than there was an anti-Clinton feeling back in 1996. So I think that Mitt Romney can overcome that if he is the nominee. I don't think he's a Bob Dole.
I don't know about the anti-Clinton being second best to the anti-Obama. There was a lot of strong feelings there. Yeah. But let me go on to the Democratic side, because if Republicans are having trouble trying to figure out can they fall in love with one of these guys, Democrats and some of the hardcore base of the Democratic Party are trying to figure out can they fall in love again with Barack Obama. And the Free Trade Act, as much as it was heralded a victory, was heralded a victory by Republicans and some moderate Democrats, but labor is not happy. Neither are some of the progressives in the Democratic Party. Is the president helping or hurting himself here?
I certainly don't think he's helping himself with that. He hasn't helped himself with a number of other issues that progressives and organized labor have been unhappy with over the past several months. But I think that what President Obama is betting on is that whoever the Republican nominee is, the alternative, that liberals and progressives are essentially going to look at the alternative and they're going to say, okay, President Obama has not been where I've wanted him to be on a whole range of issues, but the alternative is significantly worse. And I think right now the White House and the president has to bank on that in a campaign setting, that the base will come back to him, even though they may not be as motivated as they were in 2008.
That was Clinton 96 too, with welfare reform and with the balanced budget, etc. But the jobs bill, does that help him?
Listen, I think it depends on how this we're seeing such hyperpartisanship on the Hill right now, and we've seen this through the debt ceiling debate and all this other wrangling that we've seen over the past 6 months or so. The president has got to find a way, just like in these other debates, he's got to find a way to transcend that. He's got to find a way to seem above the hyperpartisanship that we're seeing in the House and Senate and that bickering that's going on. If he could do that and take it to the campaign trail, I think it helps him.
Occupy Wall Street, does it give juice to Democrats or is it a danger?
I think it depends, again, on how long-lasting these protests are. It depends on what the coverage is like. I think that we've already seen, these comparisons to, is this the Tea Party of the left? I don't necessarily think that helps. I think a lot of the coverage...
Because if it is, it could end up eating alive some of the moderate Democrats,
right,
as the Tea Party ate up moderate Republicans.
Right. I think absolutely that's the case, and that's a danger. But I also think that, unlike some of the stuff you saw on the right in relation to health care, in relation to the debt ceiling debate, there isn't as much focus, at least I haven't seen as much focus on these Occupy protests in terms of a specific issue, in terms of a specific message. And I think that's the nature of the left in some ways as well. I mean, you've got lots of groups, lots of different interests, and I think you're seeing that splintering even among these Occupy protests.
Let me take a quick call from Washington State, see if I can get it in. Caller, quick question. Hello?
Yes, my question is this. We had a small little survey here in the state of Washington, and that indicates that with such mediocre candidates for the presidency, it almost seems that that would be a benefit to Obama to get the presidency.
Okay.
Again.
Thanks.
I think the Democrats are hoping that a weaker Republican emerges. The White House, you've seen, they've been going after Mitt Romney. They've been going after him pretty hard over the past couple of weeks. They want to weaken him. They want to see somebody other than Mitt Romney come out of this Republican primary. They'd love to see Herman Cain. I think it's an incredible long shot. But they'd love to see Rick Perry, too. I think that the White House would much rather run against Perry than Mitt Romney. And I think that's why David Axelrod and all the other political folks at the White House have been going after Mitt Romney and pretty hard over the past week.
It wasn't going to be an interesting race, but it looks like it will be, if nothing more than the fact that there's such volatility on both sides.
Right, and I think regardless of where the president is with his poll numbers, the one thing you cannot underestimate with Barack Obama is the strength of his organization, his campaign, some of the things they're doing in terms of preparing to use data. They've got data positions in all these key states. They are going to be doing, from a campaign tactical perspective, they're going to be doing some really, really smart things. They've got a lot of skill on that end, so you can't underestimate his campaign prowess.
Thank you. And while governing is a team sport and they have problems there, this is an individual sport, campaigning, and he does very well at that.
Absolutely.
That's all the time we've got for now. Thanks, Shane, for joining us. I want to thank my other guests. If you want to follow us on Twitter, it's AAIUSA, or log on to the website, aaiusa.org. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.